Is the monster made by those who raise him, or is he simply a reflection of their own flaws? But perhaps it's from Johan's most important relationships where we can garner the most insight into who exactly Johan is. And that is through the relationships with none other than his family. Dr. Tenma, his surrogate father, his twin sister Anna, and of course, his own mother. To Tenma, he was a boy for whom he was willing to risk his career, his life's work over, by saving his life. In the face of mounting pressure from his superiors to give operating priority to the rich and famous over the poor, unnotable, and destitute, Johan was someone that allowed Dr. Tenma to ground his ethics in. It's children who are most vulnerable in society, and Johan was someone who represented this vulnerability. He was someone who had reminded Tenma of what it really meant to be a doctor, that his years of study and practice weren't for nothing, that the morals he had based his life and career on weren't all just a lie. By saving this boy, he was also saving himself. But at the same time, Johan would be the person who would take all of this away. He both saved Tenma and brought him to the brink of destruction. An angel and a demon. To his sister, at the start of the series, despite being the single person who knows Johan the most, much of who Johan is clouded to her, in a shroud of amnesia caused by intense trauma, embodying both the pinnacle of ignorance and knowledge. It can be said that Anna is in the position most similar to the viewer. Like the viewer, she begins in complete ignorance of who exactly Johan is. Just like her, we embark on a journey to find out who Johan is. And in turn, just like Anna, through this journey, we will also manage to gain an insight into who we are. And finally, Johan's own mother, perhaps the only person in the world who was supposed to love him unconditionally, but whose love seemingly did not extend as far as it should have. An unloving mother. She did not want anyone to know she had 2 children, and so she would dress Johan up in the same clothes as his sister in order to protect him. However, when the moment came to protect her children, she was unable to, and instead protected herself. While there is much that we don't know about Johan, there are some things that we do know. Johan was a product of a eugenics experiment. His existence was meticulously planned out. His parents, specifically chosen as a pairing due to their upbringing, careers, IQ, and phenotypic traits. Even their personalities were accounted for and deduced to be a suitable match. Thus, from his phenotypic appearance to his high IQ, as if he were a programmed machine, no detail was left to chance. Simply by virtue of being a product of a greater scheme in the manner of a scientific experiment, it can be said that one's own perception of self-autonomy is challenged. An air of genetic determinism would inevitably appear and cloud one's own perceptions of self and self-determination. In other words, how much of who I am is really my own authentic choosing, and how much a product of who I was programmed to be by the external factors of this controlled experiment are Johan's personality traits, preferences, tendencies, and ultimately actions doomed to be products of the machinations of a eugenics experiment. Is his life simply a game code? Press this button and this will happen, as if he were a machine used to fulfill the sick political desires? or indulge in the curiosities of a group of conspirators. A question central to one's identity is the question of why I was born into this world, and for what purpose does this birth serve? Undoubtedly, a question that Johan has racked his brain trying to answer. Johan was not born out of love. Love defined as a free and unconditional choice to sacrifice self for the sake of another. Love being something that will play a critical role in painting the picture of who Johan is. He was not born because he was particularly wanted for who he was or who he would choose to become, but rather he was born for the same reasons that a lab rat might be born. And he is only one lab rat of many whose purpose, destiny, and decisions had already been decided for them. Born to carry out the fruits of an experiment, or casually tossed aside if such outcomes were deemed unpreferable. There's no free will there. There's no love there. Johan must have understood just what a capricious and meaningless existence this truly was. But he would also come to the conclusion that he is not alone in this. In fact, all of society shares in this hollow, meaningless existence, for there is in fact no love or purpose to be found anywhere in this world. Johan was also born without ever knowing his own father, as his life was taken for attempting to break free from the project after he had genuinely fallen in love with his lab partner. And this is where the idea of love first enters into Johan's history. It's because of love that Johan did not have a father. Perhaps it had crossed Johan's mind once. What could drive a man to risk his life in this manner? What is this love that has left me fatherless? The second time love enters into Johan's history is at birth. Perhaps the first act of love that a parent shows to his child is none other than granting that child a name. There is power in a name. There is love in a name. A name imbues individuality. Animals in nature don't have their own names. It's something exclusive to the human experience, illustrating the idea that everyone is unique. Everyone has something to contribute, everyone has value, and everyone is their own person. The first act of love from parent to child conveys that they are valued, and that they have something different and something of value to contribute to the larger society, something that only they can contribute. Moreover, the surname reflects a legacy, a history that despite being your own person with your own unique first name, you also come from a long lineage of ancestors, that you're a part of something much greater that extends far beyond yourself and your own existence. And along with that comes the pressure to continue that lineage, that history, and to elevate your name to even grander heights, to make others proud, and the chance to bring honor to the family name. The surname contributes to the conception of the human ego. For the twins, no such love was displayed to them. No names were given to them. As Franz Bonaparte has stated, they have no such need of names. Thus, there was no obvious confirmation of a uniqueness or an individuality. There was no apparent expression of an overt applied value. There was no difference than that of the other nameless animals in nature. And in nature, there is no right or wrong. There is only survival of the fittest. Moreover, a name defers possession. I am giving you this name. You're my child. You belong to this family name or this house. For Johann, this notion of possession was absent, or perhaps better put, without a name, there was no sense of belonging. No sense of belonging to a family unit, to a family legacy, to a larger community, and ultimately, no sense of belonging to the larger world. Thus, without a name, the seeds of nihilism are sown. Just as he did not belong to any family, with a mother, father, grandfather, it will come to follow that he feels he does not belong to the family of the greater human society. A lack of connection or community in the microcosm of the nuclear family transforms into the macrocosm of the community at large. Next, the trauma that forges nihilism, the day Johann's mother makes an unthinkable choice.